Always a good start when you're not ready for that. Welcome in to the Dynasty Brews podcast. We've been gone for a little bit, but as you guys know, we never go away forever. We are back. We are your favorite brew and dynasty podcast for fantasy football. As always, it's Justin and Justin. Let's get to the introductions. Justin, how are you doing today?
Doing well, man. It's fall's here. It's starting to get winter up here in Kansas, so time to put some coats on.
Yeah, I feel that. I've been buying all my shorts because they're half off right now. Just preparing for summertime.
I don't blame you.
I
That's
don't
the way to
get
do it.
quite the Midwest winter, but I I tend to wear shorts like almost year round. But
Yeah, I try to, even when it's -10 outside. I was that kid. I was that kid in high school. Yes.
that's why we get the huskier side because we hold in all the body warmth.
Insulation,
It
absolutely.
works. It works. It works.
It does.
But
So yeah, I mean, man, we got a slate for you. We got some running backs to talk about, and then we got some mid-season or really past, mid to late season calls for MVP and some buy lows, sell high, and then if there's time, get into some trades or people this or that, as I like to call it, for the next 3 years about who you guys like or who we like going forward. So I'll kind of kick it over to you. Some things I have here. We're coming down. We're almost in the playoffs. Trade deadlines are fastly approaching. We're getting ready to cut some Thanksgiving turkey soon. And so with that trade deadline comes some questionable calls and guys that you might want to target as you make runs for championships. Are we buying or selling? I'm going to kick us off with the RB1 coming into the season. You heard it here first. I said to sell Jonathan Taylor way earlier in the season when he was the consensus RB1. That's based on his historical finishes for RB1 finishes in the next season that happens. What are you doing with Jonathan Taylor? Are you buying or selling depending on your teams, or what are you thinking?
well, as of right now, I don't think I'll get a whole lot of value for him until he has a good game. So you're kind of going fingers crossed that he has a good game this week against Vegas. Vegas has kind of been one of those teams that a lot of running backs tend to feast against. You look at ETN scored 2 touchdowns last week, and then I think it was Kamara scored like 3 the previous week. He had like 40 points in PPR. So you're kind of hoping there's a big game there. Otherwise, at this point, if I'm this late in the season with JT and Dynasty, my team's probably not looking that great anyways. So, you can sell him at his low price right now, or you can kind of wait, roll over the year and kind of like let all the news kind of build up and whatever Indy does in the offseason and kind of sell him at a high point next year if you want. I'm into selling him, but like I said, I want to wait till the right opportunity to sell
With
him.
Jeff Saturday as the head coach?
Hey, Jeff Saturday, run the ball paint, Manny.
Run the ball. Run the ball. That's interesting. I think the thing with Jonathan Taylor is I would be selling too. I actually sold him where I had him this offseason. I preach what I sell on this feed, guys. I mean, after RB1 finishes, it's very difficult to get back in the top 10. Normally, you only do it maybe 2 more times in your career. It'll be
Unless you're
interesting.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's true. However, I'm talking about historical averages first off. But yeah, Henry's done it. He's gonna do it a second time. Last season he got hurt, which is even more hilarious. But I mean, the fact that I still think he finished inside the top 10, even missing a majority of the season. I could be wrong on that, but
He finished RB14, which is absolutely crazy considering, like you said, he only played 8 games last year.
yeah.
Fucking nuts.
But the thing about Jonathan Taylor that, he was the RB1 coming in. We both agreed that Matt Ryan was not an upgrade. And we've seen the effects it's had on Jonathan Taylor. You thought they would focus more on him. It hasn't happened. As we go into the offseason, I mean, I don't see them picking high enough to get an effective pass catch, an effective quarterback. I mean, how are you feeling about the prospects of who they're going to get going into the offseason? Is this, we were chatting a little bit off the show about a certain quarterback, but I mean, are they going to get Derek Carr? I mean, if you're Indianapolis, give me the case for the best case scenario next season for Jonathan Taylor and the worst case scenario for Jonathan Taylor next season.
Yeah, best case scenario for Jonathan Taylor is that the Colts go out and they make the right moves. They don't just say, "Oh, we're a quarterback away." They really reflect on the fact that their trenches have been degrading since 3 years ago when they were claimed to be the number one offensive line in the game. They've had guys retire. They've had guys fall to injury multiple times. And, while they still have one of the best guards in the game, Quentin Nelson, they have been really lacking in the degree of actual having like good offensive linemen. So when I look at this, I don't necessarily care if they go out and get the best quarterback. I'm looking at this from the perspective of, are you guys going to make the right move for what you already have? And you have a talented pass catcher, Michael Pittman. You have a talented running back in Jonathan Taylor. You have a solid cornerstone piece of your offensive line, but you need to start building around it. If they go out, they draft, a left tackle, and then they end up getting somebody in the second round at quarterback, I wouldn't hate it. Or like you said, if they went out and maybe got a Derek Carr, trade up, get a Derek Carr, put some, give some capital to the Raiders. Raiders are probably done with him. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later on as far as what we'd want to do this guy or that guy. But, I look at it from the perspective of you have to solidify your trenches, especially if you're getting a new coach in there, new philosophy. I know Jeff Saturday is not the solution long term, but you need to get those trenches solid.
You know that Jeff Saturday is not the solution long term.
You're right.
I have it on good authority that a man named Freddie Kitchens once got a head coaching job that he was not qualified for.
And so did Jim Tom Sula.
So did Jim Tom Sula, yes. That is absolutely correct. No, I agree with you. It's definitely interesting. I can't get there. The Colts have been kind of mismanaged, and they have a frantic owner that I don't really think makes the best choices. So I'm all in on South and Jonathan Taylor. I wish we would have sold him earlier, like me. But it's always difficult to sell these assets, especially when they just are coming off the RB1 finishes. But that should be the best time to sell them. Then I want to move on to the next guy I got, and kind of a similar thing. Was a value this offseason because of what happened at the Pro Bowl with Alvin Kamara and the incident of hitting the man at the nightclub. Seemed like a great bargain if you got him this offseason, but has just absolutely crapped the bed. Has not been a good value for you other than the 1 week he was an absolute monster. If you're a contender, are you going to invest in him to try and get a title, or are you selling him? I mean, who are you selling him to, and what do you think you can get?
Yeah, this offseason I went out and I bought Kamara to go and reinforce this monster team that I have going into the playoffs. But yeah, if you're, like you said, if you're trying to get a title at this point, I'd try and buy Kamara, but always have a fallback plan. On that particular team, I have 3 first-round picks ready to go to try and go out and get Bijan. I know that this guy is not my future. Whether he gets, whether this court case sticks or not, I know he is not my future. Time is not on his side. He has been a heavy usage back for, I want to say 3 to 4 years now, which, that's kind of like the real peak right there. Once you start to get into those 4 or 5 years of heavy usage, being the number one guy, nobody else there to take away the weight, unless you really Derrick Henry, most people falter under that type. Look at Ezekiel Elliott after his first contract. He has never been the same.
Yeah.
So, if I'm a serious contender, I'll go and take a snap at it. But if I have absolutely nothing to give, or I have nothing in the playoff race right now, I'm selling him. I'm selling him hard, and I'm trying to get as much capital out of him as possible. Because the fact is, like I said, this guy is literally, going to age out in maybe a year. and it's not even going to be the court case that could stick that would get him out of here. It's going to be the fact that he's just going to be breaking down, just like any other running back would.
Yeah, running backs are typical breakdowns. I still think he's going to be highly usable. I almost picture this like David Johnson the last couple of years, other than this year. David Johnson was great, and then the last couple of years of his career he fell off, but he still finished inside the top 24. So I still think there's a value to be had with Kamara, especially if he goes to the right team. I'm going to be curious to see what the Saints actually do this offseason. They blew all their first-round picks, and they just look like a Dennis Allen type of deal, like just complete failures on all sides of the ball. And I think that Kamara is going to be for sale. And I think if you get him in the right situation, he can be an excellent receiving down back. And we know Sean Payton is lurking around for a head coaching opportunity. I would expect interest there, because I just can't imagine the Saints aren't going to just treat next year as a complete loss. They got to blow up their cap. It's been an issue for years. Their team is abysmal. Jameis Winston isn't the answer. Andy Dalton's not the answer. You got Olave, and you got Taysom Hill. Maybe you package Kamara and Taysom Hill to Sean Payton.
There you go. I like it. Sean Payton would bite on that, right? It's kind of like a little goodwill gift to the Saints. He'd give you a first-round pick for a Kamara and Taysom Hill package.
Maybe they all three of them are in the deal that includes Sean Payton. Maybe they're like, okay. Maybe they're like, okay,
is Sean Payton still contracted by the Saints?
Yeah, he's gonna have to be traded. Yes. That's why no one thinks he can go to the Panthers. Maybe the deal is it's like, okay, we will happily give you Sean Payton, and in return you must take Taysom Hill's terrible contract and our running back that beats people up in nightclubs, and then you give us a third. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. The thing you have to consider, I still think he's going to finish top 24 the next couple seasons, actually. But he's going to miss the first 4 games of next year, more than likely. And, what if he goes to a team like, what scenario would he have to go to? I mean, he's not going to the Giants. I mean, he's probably not going to the Cowboys. Kamara almost has the feel of like, as my screen gets spooky, it looks like, it almost has the feel like he might go to, it seems like an Arizona type of signing.
Yeah. I mean, if Cliff Kingsbury is there, that's always been the option, get more offense, and it'll make our defense look better. But, I don't know. I think that really Buffalo shit the bed in not going after him. There's a lot of teams that really could have had a shot at it.
I disagree. They got Naheem Hines.
Yeah,
sir.
I know. There it is. That's the discount Alvin Kamara right there, the next guy.
They are the same player. I mean, it's insane.
Entirely the same play.
Other than the statistics that make up an RB1, they're the same thing.
But on a serious note, I think that, I don't know if you can get them all in the same one. I think that the Cowboys have like a good play to get Sean Payton. And then I think that, Alvin Kamara.
Is McCarthy winning too many games, though? I just think Sean Payton is either going to the Chargers, the Broncos, or my Justin Ladd crystal ball projection, the New England Patriots.
Huh. So you think Bill retires, huh?
I do think Bill Belichick retires. Yeah. And that is why he did not bring on more staff and do it to be offensive coordinator. I think this is his last year. And what's interesting is they're 5-3. But you look at Mac Jones, and I know, people will laugh at this, but Mac Jones kind of has Drew Brees traits to a certain extent. And I think that you could get a lot done with Sean Payton in New England. The defense would be there. You bring in a guy like Kamara, or you could have Kamara be the pass catching back, and then you got so many other options. You got Damian Harris. I don't think he'll be back. But then you got Ramondre Stevenson that can be the ball carrier back. And I think, kind of take you back to those Mark Ingram type of days under Sean Payton too.
See, I look at Bill Belichick kind of like Vince McMahon. You're going to have to get him on something to get him out of the chair. I think Bill Belichick would rather die coaching than spend 1 minute vacationing somewhere for the rest of his life. Like,
I don't know. I think Bill's going to end up being in a studio.
He could.
Everything I've read says he has the personality to do it. He's just so tight-lipped with the media because he thinks it gives him an advantage over his competitors, which sometimes I would agree, and other times I'm like, I mean, are you starting Tom Brady or, some random guy? I mean, he tries to keep some things that you kind of know the answer to tight-lipped.
What do you mean? Him not starting? You're going against him? Not declaring Mac Jones or the next Tom Brady, Bailey Zappi?
No, I'm just saying, like, sometimes I don't know. Like, I've watched him. Like, he just always thinks that, like, every answer is like he'll give you nothing. It'll be like, okay, are you starting Tom Brady this week? He's like, I don't know, hypothetical question. We're on to Cincinnati type of deal. It's like, okay, I mean, we kind of know who you're starting. I mean, the Bailey Zappi love was kind of hilarious. I had an article in Prediction Strike about it. I actually bought into it a tiny bit, but I mean, Bailey Zappi is not nearly as gifted as Mac Jones is. There's a reason why one was a first-round pick and the other was like a fourth-round pick.
Well, there's differences, right? But, I actually respect Bill for what he does because, he keeps it tight to the cuff. He doesn't have to tell anybody anything at those meetings. Everybody's like, oh, you want it? Oh, why don't you just elaborate a little bit more? He's just like, why? Why would I tell you this? People, you think that I'm stupid and think that other people aren't watching? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like you said, like, you already know who's playing. You already know who's starting. You just want him to tell you, and he's not going to give you that. So I respect him for that. But speaking of on to something else, why don't we get on to that next player that we got?
Yeah, so, you could go one of two ways with the next player, but David Montgomery. And I'm going to kind of bake in Khalil Herbert into this because they're right next to each other.
Right.
I'm not really sure who I'm going with or who I'm buying. I think I lean Khalil Herbert. It's a little bit harder. I mean, I feel like Justin Fields has been stealing all the rushing upside from this team. And they've been playing better. I have David Montgomery in a league. I got him this offseason. I immediately regret it, but it is something I did. And who are you going with, and what would you pay, or are either of them even targets for you as we go? As you're trying to go build a championship.
Khalil Herbert is a long-term dynasty target for me. I think David Montgomery will find a new home next year, but I think Khalil Herbert has the actual talent to be a legitimate running back in this league for a couple years. This reminds me a lot of the Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott dilemma. One guy gets 70% of the touches, but the other guy gets, a lot more yardage. You look at Tony Pollard, his efficiency is off the charts, while Ezekiel Elliott, his only claim is that, you're going to get him for about 70% of the touches. It's the same way with Montgomery and Herbert. Herbert has way more valuable efficiency metrics. He's got more yards, but Montgomery gets all of the downs pretty much, it seems like. 7 out of 10 downs he'll get. So, like I said, I am looking at this from a dynasty perspective because we are a dynasty show. I am going with Khalil Herbert. I think David Montgomery will end up somewhere next year. He seems like the perfect type of guy to be, a fill-in somewhere. You mentioned Arizona before. He seems like the perfect type of guy to be an Arizona fill-in. He's James Conner-esque. He's not super efficient with the ball. He can get a couple touchdowns, and he has the added upside of being a receiving back. Could also see him in LA with the Rams. I mean, he fits that mold as well. So
I predict Philadelphia. That he just
you think they'll get rid of Miles for him?
They'll just get rid of
I mean,
Miles.
they're essentially the same person.
Well, I mean, depends on who you talk to. I'm not a big Miles Sanders fan myself.
Look at the numbers.
You can look at the numbers, but I mean, I don't know, man. I haven't seen Sanders do enough with the stuff with in totality of his career. I'd be selling high on a Miles Sanders. I don't know if I mean, there was all these rumors of them going after guys at the trade deadline, and where there's smoke, there's fire. They might even spend, I think I meant to do this study a while ago. I had started it, but when teams have multiple first round picks, I want to say 70% of the time they take a running back in the first round. It's something stupid. You got Josh Jacobs, the Jaguars did it. You can keep looking, but it's something. It's like a luxury that people act like. Well, I got these 2 picks. Let me go put it on a running back. That I probably shouldn't do that, but that's just what ends up happening because he ends up being the best player on their board probably.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what do you take into consideration that like last year? Because last year nobody really moved up to get. Well, I mean, people moved up, but in the second round to get a running back rather than, like you said before, where we had Saquon Barkley going in the top 10. We had, we've had quite a few. ETN was a snag. I think it was like 20 something a couple years back.
That's the new deal.
I do agree with you. I think that 2 picks tend to lead to irrational moves. But do you think that with 2 picks this year, why would they go after David Montgomery if they could get like a Bijan Robinson?
We're talking about like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That's the smart play if you want a long-term running back is because you get that 5th-year option in the first round. I think gone are the days of any running back being taken in the top half of the draft. I think 16 to 32 is where you'll start seeing them go. And that's high draft capital, can't miss prospects like a Saquon Barkley.
Man, I can't wait till we get into draft season. We are going to blow up. I can't wait. Oh.
But I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, why wouldn't you? I mean, you look at James Conner's deal in Arizona. I mean, that's why that might be what you say. Okay, Bijan looks great. It's a large signing bonus. It's a 5-year commitment. I still think that, David Montgomery brings a lot to the table. You get him for $2 million, $1 million guaranteed, which I know doesn't sound like much, but that's kind of the market it looks like. So I think you take that chance, and then you could also take a running back in the 3rd round. The draft seems like it's going to be pretty deep this year and next year. So
yeah, and the James Robinson contract, the James Robinson situation overall is kind of a mere reflection of what we could see with David Montgomery. Because, I mean, talk about a guy who came off a bad season with the team that drafted him, went somewhere else, had a good year, came back, got a mad money deal. Next year, if he were to be cut, it would be a $10 million cap hit. So James Conner's probably not going anywhere. They'd have to trade him to get off there.
That seems like
get off of that team.
That seems like a move for Sonny in Jacksonville. Was that the guy's name in draft day? Who's the guy that he screws over?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean James Conner was one of the easiest sells.
Sorry, I got allergies.
No, you're good. James Conner always felt like an easy sell to me with his injury history. But anyways, I digress. Those were the main running backs that I wanted to talk about. But moving on to kind of like the seasonal view as we wind down, who would you say is the biggest MVP now? But like the caveat too is like, some people would probably say Josh Allen, but with that injury history, I mean, I'd look at MVP and they're going to carry that to the finish line type of deal. So the MVP now, or you think they can still finish as the MVP based on what they've done with the remaining schedule?
So are we doing it positionally, or are we doing it?
We'll do quarterback, running back, and then a pass catcher, receiver or tight end.
All right, so I'm going to say MVP for quarterback. You could say Josh Allen. and you wouldn't be wrong. I'm actually going to go with Tua. So Tua's had an amazing season.
You've been spending
Has
too much
showed,
time. You've been spending way too much time with your counterpart at TSS.
yeah. So as everybody knows, I've become an inaugural Jets fan, according to TSS. But I will give credit where credit is due. Tua has been pretty damn good with his new weapons. Jalen Waddle is a wide receiver 1 as of this point, and so is Tyreek Hill. You got 2 guys that are doing that, and why are you doing it? Because you're airing out the ball, and they're just doing the extra stuff on the
And their
side.
defense is dog shit, by the way.
Is terrible. Stinky Swiss cheese. So yeah. So I look at that and I go, wow, okay. So there's a guy that I am happy to plug in every single down, every single lineup, because they're going to have a chance to have a blowout every single game. They're going to have a chance where they are going to constantly need to be throwing the ball all the time. And Josh Allen, this injury kind of bugs me a little bit, but it's what's been bugging me is that he's kind of been nonchalant with the football the past couple of weeks. You know, he's been very lackadaisical. He tries to do a lot of Mahomes stuff with the football, which he can do, but it will also get you in trouble sometimes.
Not to the extent of Marcus Mariota on Thursday.
Oh God, yeah. Who I really wanted that to be an interception because I was just like, this guy needs to learn his lesson. Just hold on to the ball, take the sack.
Yeah, I mean, I would normally say Josh Allen. You know, it's difficult. I mean, I could easily see your case.
Plus, you're wearing a very Miami blue shirt right now.
Yeah,
at least that's the way it's coming off
for the TSC Alliance. So, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say Mahomes, and it feels dirty. I normally feel like I'd like to see someone that you spent low draft capital on that ended up being a quarterback 1, but I can't think of any success stories this year of drafting a late quarterback.
Imagine this. People actually thought that he was going to be bad because he didn't have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
there was people that were legitimately saying this guy was out of your top 5 because there was no Tyreek Hill.
I mean, I was never one of those. He was always still in my top 3. You know, there was concern that his numbers would go down, but it hasn't really happened. They've still thrown a lot. They have no running back. I mean, maybe they get Kamara. I just don't think they can afford it. But I mean, if there's any way you can get him a Mahomes deal done, that's the guy I'm targeting for sure. Yeah. As far as running backs go, I mean, MVP, I'd be hard pressed to find anyone that feels as strongly as I do that Saquon Barkley's been probably the best value this whole season, and is my MVP.
Yeah, I like Saquon. I didn't like him going into the year, but I agree. He's had a hell of a season. I'm going to go with this. Kenneth Walker. Talk about a guy who's come in, you know, he was injured going into the season. He got his opportunity, and he has just taken the bull by his horns. And every single week, he is putting up great numbers for you. He has been my MVP on a lot of teams. You know, a lot of teams I was carrying DeAndre Swift on. I also had Kenneth Walker on. So I looked at him as kind of like almost like a godsend, you know. And I was like, oh my God. I thought I ended up with the second best running back in the in fantasy football. I ended up with the best one because, you know, Breece Hall, get better soon, buddy. But he got hurt. So I'm going to say that Kenneth Walker has been my MVP of fantasy so far this year for the running back position. And if we're moving to wide receiver, are we transitioning to wide receiver?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Who's been your wide receiver MVP?
I mean, it's got to be Tyreek Hill. Just insane. And I did not love him coming into the season. His value was so low. I just felt like I had to take it. I mean, I've been surprised. That's all I can say.
So I'm glad you said Tyreek Hill because I'm going to go with his mate, Jalen Waddle.
We did not.
So
We did not rehearse this either, people.
no, not at all. Not at all. But here's the thing. Remember when Jalen Waddle was going to be the guy who was going to get less targets because Tyreek Hill was there and Tua can only throw to one guy? Uh-oh. I guess that theory ran into a train. Yeah, Jalen Waddle, like I said, you drafted this guy sometimes to be like your wide receiver 3. Guess what? He is a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football right now. And he's a dynasty killer, man. He might be, I mean, in 2 or 3 years, he might be top 3 in dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I mean, he was up there pretty high, like second, third round, even this offseason. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he could easily be top 5, top 6, I think. So,
yeah.
All right. So then, what would you call your biggest disappointment this season at the quarterback position? Because I have mine. I'm sure we're going to probably agree on it.
Yeah. Well, I think we already talked about him earlier on in the episode. I was a big fan of Derek Carr getting Devontae Adams. And I am eating crow right now because he looks like an absolute turd in the punch bowl. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Derek Carr has literally brought me to tears on some weeks, and like that Saints game was so terrible. I was like, you just need a couple points. Just give me something.
Yeah.
And he shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, that was an embarrassment. I mean, Derek Carr's been nothing but an absolute embarrassment. I mean, I could go 2 ways here. I think the ultimate, letdown has really been Justin Herbert. Hasn't really lived up to that top draft capital. I still think he turns it around in Dynasty. But I'd be very hard-pressed not to mention the real candidate here that's been an absolute monstrosity was recommended by some of the industry that we've had on this podcast. I'm not taking a shot at anyone, but Jameis Winston, my gosh, what a complete and utter disaster this has been.
Jeez.
Not even starting against Andy. I mean, you lost your job to Andy freaking Dalton. I mean, I can't think of a worse scenario where you took a guy this offseason thinking you were getting possible upside at the position. Awful. I mean, you had 3 receivers, couldn't get it done, and now he is on the sideline with his LASIK helping out Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Yep. You can take away Sean Payton, and it's like every new trick that he learned went away too. So it was kind of crazy.
It's insane. I'm so baffled. And I am loving Andy Dalton. I mean, Kamara has gotten more usage since Dalton started playing. Taysom Hill obviously is taking a larger role as well. So as far as the running back position, it seems to me pretty obvious that it's Jonathan Taylor. Was the RB1. Clearly there was regression and it's happened. In terms of, I know has had some health issues, but even when he has played, he hasn't really been as explosive as we saw just a year ago.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the guy who a lot of people thought was Dynasty running back number 2 going into this year. Do you know who it is?
I hope it's not McCaffrey because I think he's good.
Najee Harris. I mean,
I never had him top 5, to be fair.
Well, I mean, if you didn't have him top 5 last year, you were wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of things not to love about this team, mainly the defense and the quarterback position. I know
the lack of investment in the offensive line, which was horrendous before. The quarterback transition to mobile quarterbacks.
It is funny though how like some people are, when you listen to other people around the industry though, it is funny. They're like, oh, they're just a quarterback away. It's like, okay, it took Buffalo 20 years to find Josh Allen. So a quarterback away from being an excellent team and a desirable location is pretty hard to get.
Actually, Justin, they had a guy named JP Lossman. He was pretty good.
He did play for the Las Vegas Rough Riders of the now defunct what was it, the USFL, I believe.
Which iteration of the USFL was that?
I don't know if it was the USFFL or some iteration of that. I'm not sure. I can tell you that he did do well there. Dick Geron also coached in the USFL or whatever it's called. So
wasn't that his coach at one point?
That was his coach at one point. That's why I made the reference. So yeah, as a Nebraska fan, Mike Riley, I believe, is coaching in the XFL this season. So I can give you lots of things that hit close to home, and Mike Riley still coaching is one of them.
Yeah, Mike Riley doesn't really do that too much for me. But as far as I'm going to close it on this, Najee Harris, I wasn't big on him because of the fact that he had one of the lowest yards created rate last year, and it was just a volume play. He was nonstop volume, something that's not sustainable unless you have an offensive line. The Pittsburgh Steelers really treated this as we're just going to keep reloading on quarterback and just leave everything else the same. Like nothing else ages out, gets worse, or anything. So it's kind of scary to see the direction that franchise has gone. Once great franchise has gone. And I hope they pick it up this offseason because I think Mike Tomlin might officially be on the hot seat this year.
Oh, I doubt it. He shouldn't be, but who knows? Because
he should be. He should be because he is in. This is a joint effort, but at some point he's got to take some accountability for the decisions that he's making here. If you draft Kenny Pickett, if you don't address the offensive line, if you're not talking with your GM about all this shit, I don't care how many titles you've won, which you've only won one, and how many seasons you've gone without a losing season. You got to start, taking accountability for rebuilding this team that was once great.
Bring back Antonio Brown, and the rest will figure itself out.
Yeah, well, I think he might have to get in the pool with him before Antonio Brown comes back.
Yeah. Who is your
he's a
Antonio Brown is a funny character. There's not many people that you need an account for to actually translate what he says, but I have found that Twitter account to be very useful.
They have a Twitter account for translating.
It's called the AB. It's at AB Translator, and it is extremely hilarious.
That's phenomenal.
Speaking of pass catchers that are crazy,
go for it.
No, I was gonna say you go first. I'm curious who yours is.
Pass catchers that have let me down.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, this is a tough one. Deebo Samuel really let me down this year. Yeah, I think it's because
you were higher on Ayuk. I felt like coming in though.
I was. No, I'm very high on Ayuk, but I still had Deebo Samuel in some of my leagues, and you were kind of hoping for a lot of the same treatment. I know that I said that you're probably not going to get it, but you were kind of hoping that maybe something would happen with this team as far as like maybe transitioning to more of a downfield scheme. As we found out, Deebo Samuel's not very good downfield. He needs to get the ball in short areas and work, and he hasn't been able to do that so much this year. He's been my disappointing guy because if you paid up for him, you are very disappointed because, you paid up for a guy who's at this point not doing anything near what he was doing last year, and it's not looking like it's going to get much better with CMC in town.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one guy that my biggest disappointment, and I agree with yours, but mine's an even bigger disappointment. Can you guess?
Michael Pittman.
It's close. It's Gangrene. And Elijah
Oh,
Moore
Elijah Moore.
has been a complete disaster. There's nothing that I've seen that makes me think it's going to turn around this season. When you're losing reps to Denzel Mims, who I literally equate every time I drive by a Chipotle, I think of Denzel Mims and how sick he got. Well, now every time I drive by Chipotle, I'm like, the guy that got food poisoning from Chipotle is taking more snaps than Elijah Moore. I was high on Elijah Moore. He was my number one receiver last year out of that draft class. Absolute failure this season. And, I don't care who the quarterback is. Zach Wilson has not lived up to my expectations. Justin Wilson has been elevated up, has been moving up my board, and I don't like saying that because it means I was wrong, but I got to call a strike, and I think I'm going to miss that. Justin Fields looks like he might indeed be the quarterback one of that draft class.
Yeah, no, 100%. I actually agree with you, Elijah Moore. What do you feel about the news of him getting in the slot finally? Like, come on. Like, you used him there last year. Like, would you not think it was going to be something you could do again the next year? I don't know. For me, it's infuriating because this offense clearly has a lot of weapons, and they pick and choose when to use them. Like, how does Denzel Mims, after 5 years, it seems like 5 years, I think it's only been 3. After 3 years on this roster, he's just now getting some touches.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ineptitude a little bit. I know that, everyone wants to give this team praise. They've done a good job. I am a fan of, Saleh, but I think this offense still is not reaching its full potential with LaFleur. I mean, I don't know about you. I watch the games and I'm like, I understand you think you can run the ball effectively, but when you run 9 times out of 12, it makes it very predictable, and then it puts a lot of pressure on your quarterback to make a throw on third down.
Yeah. Now, I apologize ahead of time to everybody who's viewing this on YouTube and everybody who has to hear me constantly suck up snot up my nose. Dealing with some bad allergies right now, so
yeah, we know it's not. We know it's not allergies. You're the sniffing accountant on Seinfeld. You're gonna disappear. But what was I gonna say? Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna kind of wrap up the disappointments, the MVPs. I'll kind of mesh this into one. Buy low and sell high. We'll start at quarterbacks. Who are your buy lows and sell highs based on where we're at so far? Someone that's exceeded expectations, but you're not really buying it. And then sell low.
Okay.
Sell high. That's your sell high, and then your buy low is someone who's disappointed us, but you think they can turn it around.
Okay, so my buy low is Justin Herbert. You've talked about it already. He's had just absolute terrible luck as far as all of his weapons going down. I don't think this is a reflection of him. Still a very talented quarterback. Just kind of needs one of his major receivers to make a return. I mean, Keenan Allen, how long can you be out with a hamstring? Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Julio Jones just called. He said he's still out with his hamstring from 2018.
How dare you? I mean, question a man's hamstrings.
I question the facility. Like, come on, we're NFL.
They definitely needed a training staff. The fact that he went out in practice and re-aggravated his hamstring. What are we doing? Your literal job is to. Listen. I've had a hamstring injury. I played a lot of flag football. I used to play it before my kids, and I missed a couple weeks with a hamstring. But there are certain precautions you do. There are stretches you do to stretch that hamstring and make it get better. But I've seen it. I mean, when your hamstring goes bad, it is terrible. But it's been like 7 weeks. So I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I'm not doubting the man's in pain and he's got hamstring issues. I know wide receivers historically have that. But like you said, like you were out for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
This guy has the best training facility in one of the most lucrative places on earth for health and fitness.
Yeah.
He is
He doesn't
in
have a.
LA County. People die to get that job. People will literally kill for like not only a Klondike bar, but to get that job.
Klondike for you.
You can't tell me that somebody's doing something other than making him roll on a fucking tennis ball. Like they've got to get this guy straight. I don't know how many weeks this is right now without him, but this team is hurting without him,
I think
and
it's
they
7
need a
weeks.
playoff push.
And I'm pretty sure it's 7 weeks. They're not. I mean, they're not making the playoffs. They're gonna fire their coach. This dude had a viral moment for his speech last year that was meh. He's the most overinflated like coach I think I've ever seen. Like,
Hey now, don't take Nathaniel Hackett out of the running now.
man, it's true. But were we ever really high on Nathaniel Hackett? And I love how like we
I think we were
associate.
high on this entire Broncos organization. Ever since the Russell Wilson move, everybody was like, "Oh, Bronco Nation, let's
Bronco Nation.
ride, Bronco
Let's-
country."
Hey, I still want my Russ Witch, or what is it called? The Danger, the
Danger Witch, yeah,
the Danger Witch.
the,
That's what it
the
was.
Danger Witch, yeah.
Hey, those fuckers canceled the sandwich before I could even try Danger Witch. Screw them, and screw the
That
Chargers.
sandwich probably has like all the worst ingredients at Subway. There,
No,
it's got
they're not the worst ingredients. They're the most boring ingredients, the most lame ingredients.
So it's got like olives and shit on it.
Like black olives,
Tomatoes.
Hey, I used to hate tomatoes, but now I actually don't mind them. But and the thing is, I think we've talked. Like it actually looked good, but the sandwich artists disagree.
I think the people that freaking put out the ad with him on it disagree. It says a lot when they have to make a statement. We did not pull the sandwich because of trolling. Okay, yeah.
Do you ever like wonder though? Like, I mean, I listen. I think marriage is like something that you can't break from. Like, not break from, but like I take marriage pretty seriously and stuff like that. But like, what do you think this dude acts like at home? Like, there's no way he can be this corny and manipulated. Like, I just like I can't imagine he is this cringe as like in his private life.
Oh, I guarantee you he's that cringe. I mean, listen, this is a guy, this is the proverbial mama's boy type of guy. This guy has never been held accountable for anything that's bad that's happened in his life. They said it. Richard Sherman said it on his podcast. Marshawn Lynch said it. Dude, they said that they couldn't reach him without getting to his publicist first. Bro, you won a Super Bowl with these people. These are supposed to be your boys. If you went to war with these people.
Yeah,
and
but
you can't take accountability.
Yeah. I mean, I know there was
he lost the Super Bowl after he won one. When he won a Super Bowl, he was like, what, 2 years in the league?
Yeah.
So, sure, you're not really like you yet. Sure, you're not held to a full stout. When he got back to the Super Bowl, he was like, what, 4 or 5 years in? I'm sorry, bro. You're off of your rookie contract.
I think it was year 4. It was year 3 or 4 because they hadn't even talked about a new deal because the new deal I remember was a huge, just absolute Joe Flacco type of situation where he extorts teams. I mean, he extorted the Broncos for his extension this season. It's insane.
Yeah. And everybody taught, like, anybody who talks to me knows I have no love for Russell Wilson because you see that he's not the guy that he portrays himself to be. But I was talking about the football player on the field. Now you're finding out this motherfucker is corny as shit in real life. He's just a giant goof.
He's like a giant. I mean, he's been a giant danger witch on the field. That is for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Looks good on paper, plays terrible in real life. I mean, I guess my biggest disappointment as far as the quarterback position goes, like we said, was Justin Herbert. Running back, I'm gonna still stick with Alvin Kamara. Has not lived up to what I thought I was getting when I got him this offseason. I mean,
Are we still talking about the buy low, sell highs?
yeah, sorry. I'm
No, you're good.
tired.
I thought we were getting back in the
No,
disappointment segment. I was
no,
just
yeah,
like,
sorry.
didn't we just do that one?
I mean, I would definitely sell Kamara for what I go back and forth. I still think he has top 24 value, though. That's why. So maybe I'll stay away from Kamara. As you can tell, I did not rehearse this. I You can't do much with Deshaun Watson. And if I'm sticking at the quarterback position for buying low or selling high, I'm going to probably sell high on Justin Fields. And I'm going to get so much shit from you. I still feel like you could buy Zach Wilson low.
Oh, you could definitely buy him low.
It just isn't going to work out.
Some say his value is so far in the ground.
I mean, I think we did a deal with like Justin with Davis Mills and him, and I can't tell you. I don't know who wins.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. At the end of the day, I feel like I won because I got your first round pick and I got my 2 quarterbacks of the future coming to me next year. So I got no problem what we did. We actually traded Davis Mills back and forth. You realize that?
It was a hot potato.
Like I traded Davis Mills to you, and then you traded him back to me.
No, he was originally on my team. I drafted him in the 3rd round.
Oh, okay.
So it went from me to you, and then you to me.
Okay. Either way, it's been a
disaster. I go back and forth. It's imagine being married to me. I mean, I feel bad for my wife. I mean,
I just look at Steve. I just look at Steve and I go, man, you must have a lot of patience to deal with Justin co-managing your team.
We've had a lot of success actually. When we co-manage, we do quite well. We balance each other out. He's talked me out of deals, and I talked him out of Derek Carr this offseason. And it's funny because he's like, well, you got to listen to your co-host. I mean, Herrera loves Derek Carr. I'm like, dude, Derek Carr sucks. Not buying Derek Carr.
Well, you should have listened to me about Kirk Cousins.
Should I have, though? I mean,
yeah, he's been good.
I would rather have a 23 first right now instead of Kirk Cousins still.
Yeah, but you could have a 23 first and Kirk Cousins win a championship this year and still have that 23 first.
How?
Because Kirk Cousins didn't garner much value. I mean,
he was easily
what are you really paying for Kirk Cousins?
He was easily.
What do you really?
I could not see any. I did not see any deals with Cousins not going for a 1st round pick.
I still think you could probably get him for 2 seconds.
I wish. I mean, we are going to run out of time. I mean, let me ask you this.
We're nearly at the end of the show, anyways. I'll give my buy sells in a second, but yeah, ask what.
Oh, I mean, you do your buy sells. I'm going to ask you one set of players from the this or that. So
okay. So my sell high is going to be Breece Hall. Regardless of the injury, there's still a huge section of the fantasy community that believes he will be a Dynasty RB1 going into next year. I'm one of those guys that I don't want guys coming off major injuries on my roster. So I will 100% take that value at whatever I can get, whether it be 1 or 2 first round picks. And the guy that I'm really trying to buy right now is I'm trying to get Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I agree with you on Khalil Herbert.
Trying to get Khalil Herbert because I think Khalil Herbert or Tony Pollard, because both those guys are coming into a role soon. Whether it's on the current team they're on or a different team, somebody's going to recognize talent and they're going to get them on their squad and they're going to be leading the way. And then at receiver, have you done your receiver yet?
No, you just do yours. I'm good. I did the running back, I think, and the quarterback, but I just did the ones. I kind of bunched all mine together. So,
okay, all right. So my wide receiver sell high is Cooper Kupp. Crazy as it is,
it's a little late though, isn't it? I mean, he's
No, it's not. He's
He
still doing very well.
No, I mean, but I guess he did well last week with the injury, didn't he?
Yeah, he's still doing very well. But the state of this team is going straight in the trash can. And there is a lot of gasoline that is being poured on it.
They have $16 million of cap space this year and next year. And their fan base got on me on the Twitter bird, the Musk bird, I should say. And I mentioned they're like, we're gonna get this guy and this guy. And I'm like, what money do you think that they have? Well, they'll figure it out. I'm like, sure, you can do that for so long, but we're in like year 3 of this like wormhole. I don't know how you're gonna get out of the wormhole other than just diving in. I mean, you're gonna have
Les
to.
Snead is a very generous owner. He has given a lot of people big signing bonuses.
Yeah.
And a
Les
ton
Snead's
of
the
money up
GM, but you're
front.
talking about Kroenke,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry.
The Kroenke.
Yeah, Kroenke. I'm sorry, Kroenke. Yeah, you're right.
You're good. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. I mean, what about neither one? I'm kind of letting you take the lead on who your guys are, but it's funny that you don't have Tony on that list. I told Steve last year to sell him for a first, and I think he's happy he did. I don't buy Tony. I think the talent's there, but I think to me, I was completely sold off with the on-field blunders and the personality of the player, which I do take into account some of that when I'm doing trades. Like, very talented person, but questionable character, penalties, hits people. There's a reason why the Giants got rid of him, in my opinion. But a lot of people love him.
I actually like the move to Kansas City because, questionable character. If you have the right amount of talent, look at Antonio Brown, look at Odell Beckham Jr., if Tyreek Hill, if you put them in the right situation where they're around a lot of success, they can sometimes surprise you. I would look for this week. If you're really trying to trade Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman is out. This week could be your week to get rid of him at a decent price.
Are you firing him up in DFS?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay.
Because he's probably going at like 3,300 right now.
Maybe I gotta get in
around that.
Let me end with this one. This is the one I wanted to ask you. You're doing a draft today. Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson for Dynasty?
Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Lamar Jackson.
Deshaun Watson, baby. Never finished outside the top 5, playing a whole season. He's in the dog pound. I don't know. I think right now is your last chance to get Deshaun Watson. He had the bad preseason. You might be able to get a deal done. I'm all in. I'm in the tank for Deshaun Watson as the football player, not the man of the year.
By the way, Justin Fields totally ruined your Lamar Jackson to Chicago take.
Conceivably, maybe.
Yeah.
Could. Yeah, I don't necessarily. I've gotten a lot of heat from people that do not like me lately. We'll see. I need to see this consistently. Play the Dolphins defense, and I actually fired him up for that game in almost all my lineups. It was a good week.
Yeah,
I saw that one coming. I mean,
if you had Joe Mixon, you probably had
I actually did. I had a decent. Yeah, it was a good day. I had Mixon and I had Cooper Kupp and some other. There was one player that did well that I didn't.
And you probably had Travis Kelce too, right?
No, because he was playing at night, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played at night. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you can do the main slate, or
the main slate's just 1 to 3 for me.
Is it?
Yeah, okay. It's just the noon and the 3 o'clock.
Gotcha.
But I had fired up. There was a tight end I fired up that did very well that I kind of liked. So yeah,
did you end up winning a good amount of money?
200. Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, that's
nice.
So,
all right. Well, on that note, Justin winning 200. Obviously, you should be taking some DFS picks from him because he knew what was up last week. But anyways, guys,
I don't ever look at it till Saturday. But yes, otherwise
hey,
I'll
that's
give
the
you
best. That's the best day to look. I always make my DFS articles come out on Saturday because at the end of the day, you got to get your up to date injury news. You got to make sure you're giving the right content to
more
everybody.
ownership projections.
Exactly, ownership projections, and if you guys are ever looking for it, big shout out to Fantasy Labs. They got a good setup over there. But anyways, it's been a good show. We're back. I hopefully won't be as sniffly next time. Won't be having an allergy attack.
I
But
hopefully won't be as
we'll be
tired
back. Yeah.
in this well lit house.
I know it's beautiful. I mean, even what time is it over there? I mean, isn't it like 10:40? Like, doesn't look like 10:40.
10:40 a.m. in Japan over here.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Yep.
With the beautiful piano over there.
You know.
But we'll be back next week, giving you all your best Dynasty information. And yeah, see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.